Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome back, or welcome if you are new. I hope you're having a fantastic day. This is actually the second in-depth candle review that I am sharing on my channel today. If you missed it, I did review Country Candle Fresh Bergamot a little bit earlier in the day. If you're interested in checking out my thoughts regarding that fragrance, I'll go ahead and link the video in the description box right below this video here. Feel free to check that out if you are interested. Also, at the very top of the description box, I'll put some links to where you can purchase the fragrance that we're discussing in this video here, which is obviously Voluspa Rose Otto. I have this particular fragrance in a 2-wick tin. Full disclosure, I have actually had this particular candle in my possession for probably a couple of years. And I've never formally reviewed it, so I figured I would go ahead and do that. I am really quickly falling in love with so many of Voluspa's fragrances, and as far as florals go, I think that this rose collection that they did a while ago is absolutely stunning. If you are looking for some beautiful, really authentic rose fragrances, you have to check these out, especially this Rose Otto. I'm so excited to finally get this candle reviewed. This is one of those fragrances that I am actually considering purchasing the hearth size of. I don't know if you have taken a look at the hearth vessel for this particular fragrance, but if you haven't, check it out. I'll probably use an image of it somewhere in the thumbnail as well, but oh my gosh, you guys, the jar is absolutely gorgeous. It just looks incredibly textural, and the just beautiful shade of blush pink that they used for the glass is mwah, chef's kiss. So anyway, you guys, let's go ahead and tackle this review in the usual format. So I'm going to go ahead and read through their scent story. We will discuss the fragrance notes. I will tell you what I actually smell in this particular scent. We will discuss the strength and throw specifically of this 2-wick tin format that I have here, and then of course address any burn issues. If you are not familiar with Voluspa, all of their candles are handcrafted in California. They use natural wicks. They are free of sulfates, phthalates, pesticides, and parabens, and they also use a clean burning coconut wax blend. And I think this is one of the things that I actually have come to appreciate most about Voluspa. I'm definitely a huge fan personally of soy wax when it comes to candles, especially 100% pure soy. But I tell you what, I am also definitely sold on the clean burning qualities of coconut wax as well. So if you've never tried a coconut wax blend formulation and you're looking for a clean burn, I can definitely highly recommend Voluspa for that. So anyway, just a little bit more information about the Voluspa candles there if you're not familiar, but let's go ahead and read through the fragrance description here. The description reads, "Enter the rose garden without thorny consequence. Rosa Damascena, Bulgarian rose, and peony evoke their perfume in sweet harmony." So our fragrance notes here are Rosa Damascena flower tops, Bulgarian rose, and pink peony. So in terms of this fragrance profile, listen, this is just a straightforward rose. But specifically, the rose that you are getting here is a very sweet, very pure, just very potent garden rose. There is definitely some peony in here as well, but let's kind of start with the rose because that really is the main star of the fragrance here. The rose smell that I get from this particular scent really reminds me of a lot of the David Austin roses that I will typically use for bridal bouquets. I am a florist and a lot of the work that I do is with bridal clients, so I make a lot of wedding bouquets. Usually when it comes to the bridal bouquet, I always recommend to my brides that they go with a nicer type of rose for their bouquet. You know, if they're looking to save money, I definitely recommend some more standard roses for bridesmaids. But for a bridal bouquet, I believe in making that a little bit more special. And so I will usually look through the David Austin roses that are available. And a lot of times I will order those for bridal bouquets because they have a really high, roughly petal count to them. And honestly, the fragrance of a garden rose is, I think, far superior to any standard rose out there. So this particular garden rose that you're smelling here is very sweet, very pure, really, really beautiful, and definitely I would say perfumey. It's a very, very perfumey rose. You do also smell a really sweet peony in here as well. I can personally tell the difference between peony and rose. Some people can't. But I can definitely, just working with both, usually, especially in the early summer, like there is a distinct difference between peony and rose. I think when it comes to peony, they kind of tend to be a lot more naturally sweet just in general. And they just are maybe a touch, to my nose, peony has a little bit of green in it, which really is what sets it apart from most of the roses that I stick my nose into. And there is just that tiny touch of that like little bit of a green peony in here. And I love it. This is very straightforward. You're not getting a whole lot else here. If you're looking for a pure, sweet, beautiful garden rose with that hint of peony, you're going to be in hog heaven with this one. It's absolutely stunning. I cannot say enough good things about the fragrance itself. Let's discuss the strength and throw of specifically this 2-wick tin that I have here. Currently on the Voluspa website, you can find this fragrance in their 1-wick classic jar, in the 5-wick hearth, as well as their, I believe, 2-wick large jar format. So all of those are going to vary in terms of strength and throw, obviously. I'm going to assume that my 2-wick tin here would probably mirror the experience of the classic 1-wick jar. That is just an assumption, but I really think that that's probably what you'll get out of that particular vessel. I have been burning this particular fragrance exclusively in our master bedroom, which is definitely slightly different in terms of layout from the downstairs of our house. The downstairs of our house is very high ceilings, very much an open concept, whereas the master bedroom is obviously a much more enclosed space. The 2-wick tin does get lost down here now that I have been burning this one here in the dining room. I can definitely smell it here in the dining room, but it's not nearly as potent as it is in our master bedroom. So I would give this a strength of about a 6 in the master bedroom. I would give it a strength of more of like a 4 here in the dining room. Still noticeable, but not nearly as potent as it is in the upstairs. The throw also, I would say, is, I'm gonna put that at about a 4 at best, But again, we're talking about a pretty small format here. This is not a very large candle. I'm still gonna give you guys the overhead shot here in a little bit when we talk about the overall burn quality. But as you can see, it's a pretty small candle. So I don't expect it to be a powerhouse in strength and throw at all. That's not realistic for something of this size, at least for me. So I think the strength and throw is pretty fair for the size that I have. Would I appreciate more strength and throw? Absolutely. In a larger format, I would definitely expect this to be a lot more potent, and I'm going to assume that it is. I did read through a lot of the reviews on the Voluspa website specifically, and everything that I saw was very positive in terms of strength and throw for their other formats as well. So I would say if you're interested in this one, the strength and throw will vary based on the size that you get, but you should get a good, solid, at least medium plus performance with their larger formats. Lastly, let's discuss the overall burn quality of this one. I mentioned at the beginning of the video that Voluspa uses a coconut wax blend. And as someone who is a huge fan of soy, I have to admit that coconut wax is really quickly growing on me as a new favorite. Kind of, I would say, up there with soy wax at this point. This particular candle has burned incredibly clean. One thing I do want to warn you about is that Voluspa uses, you know, they use their all natural cotton wicks, but I find that their wicks tend to get really short. They start out pretty short to begin with. I would never recommend trimming your Voluspa wicks prior to the very first burn. I would say just light them up and go. I would also recommend probably not trimming your wicks if you don't have to. If you don't have any carbon balls or mushroom tops, I would say leave those wicks alone and just light them for your subsequent burns. I have had an issue with my Voluspa Tahitian Coconut Vanilla 5-wick hearth candle where I experienced some tunneling. I have since had to, not to use a construction term, but I had to excavate some of the wax out of that candle because as the candle kept going further down, it was starting to melt some of that wax that was on the sides. And unfortunately, that was causing my wicks to start to become flooded because not only was it, you know, the wax within the ring that was melting, but it was also the ring of wax around the outside that was melting. And it was just, honestly, it was too much wax and it was flooding those wicks. So in general, I have noticed that with most of my Voluspa candles, you really don't need to do much in the way of wick trimming. So I really encourage you to avoid that if at all possible. Also, always make sure you let your candles cool out completely for the first couple of burns. Wax does have a memory, if you will, and if you don't let it cool out, it will, on all subsequent burns, only ever pull out to that, you know, edge that you created with that very first burn. So it'll never completely pull out for you if you don't let it happen during that first burn. Now, for me, with my Tahitian Coconut Vanilla that I've been having some issues with in the hearth size, it would not actually completely pull out during that first burn. So, but I feel like that is the only Voluspa candle that has given me a ton of trouble. I think I've mostly corrected it at this point, but we're gonna discuss that candle in a separate video. But I just really want to stress leaving your wicks alone if they don't require any trimming on subsequent burns. You'll be just fine, light them up and go. Let me give you guys the overhead shot here so that you can see how clean this candle has been burning for the first half. It's just a really beautiful burn experience with this coconut wax. I'm hoping that the camera will focus here, but you can see how clean that wax still is. I typically have been leaving this one lit for about 2.5, 3 hours. This is kind of a nice one to light up before going to bed because it pulls out very quickly. I do find that the tin format from Voluspa is probably the fastest pulling format. So if you don't want to wait for a candle to completely pull out at the end of a long work day, you might just want to give their tin format a try. I can tell you that the glass jars, just in general, do tend to take a little bit longer to pull out. So anyway, for what it's worth, I don't have any burn complaints on this one at all. It's been doing great, and I've really enjoyed the fragrance. I would definitely recommend checking this one out if you are at all interested in it. I just really have enjoyed it, and it has been a fantastic floral for the spring, and it's one that I would actually totally repurchase myself next spring in maybe their beautiful classic jar. So I hope that this review is helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave your thoughts if you have tried this fragrance in the comments down below. I appreciate you being here, and we have one more review coming up a little bit later on this evening. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Toodaloo.